Okay, we are live. Now I'm going to copy the link over to the event page. And then we can proceed. Thank you for your patience. Okay. Okay. I
Okay,
believe we are live. I really do. How are you, Grace?
I'm fine. Thank
Thank you
you.
for your patience. You're
Thank you.
in Cabo, right? Cabo?
Yes, I am at San Jose del Cabo, in one of the Los Cabos in Mexico, in a beautiful resort.
Yes.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
So, Grace, are you performing there?
Yes, I will be performing for the wellness holidays of Christmas and New Year's Eve with a concert, sound healing, what I do, you know.
What you do, that is correct. But
Yeah.
before we jump into what you do, I since this is a conversation, we're just going to have a conversation. But if you could, in case somebody that there's someone who doesn't know who you are, they're not aware of you and what your contribution is to the world, showing up as Grace Terry, maybe you can fill in a little of those blanks by connecting some dots of maybe how you got to today and then what you're doing today.
Okay, well, what I do, it's music, higher conscious music. I am a producer, a composer of high vibrational music, and I do concerts all over the world, plus voice workshops related to that highlight frequency vibration, which is right now getting very strong in the planet because of the times we are living. We're about to enter the era of Aquarius, which has to do with about light consciousness, about high frequency. So that's what I do, mostly of my
Wow,
and travel around the world
you
doing
do.
this. Yeah.
You have adventure in your soul. You have to
Yes.
because of all the traveling that you do.
Oh, well, I was counting. I arrived to Los Cabos 4 days ago, and it was my 23rd airplane that I took this year.
Wow,
8 airplanes. Can you believe it? I was
that's
like,
amazing.
that's
That's
a
an
lot.
amazing statistic, actually.
Yes,
I know that one of those,
yes.
or a couple of those, because I'm not sure if you had to do a connecting flight, but you performed at the Glastonbury Music Festival
Oh, yes, that was
this summer in the United Kingdom.
yeah, that was amazing because I went with a group of Xicome Festival. It's a Mexican festival, so we were representing Mexico in Glastonbury, and we had an amazing time over there because the people were really expecting like traditions from Mexico. So I performed. I was the singer of the group for this event, Glastonbury, with an amazing musician, which is Alyosha, that he was in charge of the electronic part of the music. And it was beautiful, but it was a lot of people, 300,000 people.
300,000 people.
Yeah, that's a lot. I never seen so many.
300,000 people. Like I'm having a hard time
Yeah, to imagine
fathoming it.
that.
It's just a number, do you know?
Yeah, it is. But when you see the whole people over there, it's a lot. And plus Glastonbury Festival is huge. And I mean, it's really, really
There's
huge.
multiple stages, right?
Yes, a lot. So it was like it's 24/7 for a week, the festival. So, there was Elton John, Blondie, Cat Stevens, Guns N' Roses, Lana Del Rey. So it was a very profound experience to perform as a singer for me, to be performing in those stages. It was beautiful. It was great.
Wow.
Yes.
What an experience. How long were you there?
Well, in UK, totally, I was 3 weeks, but in the festival, it was the whole week.
Now,
Because,
have you been to the UK before?
yeah, it was my second time, and I really like the UK, and the people was very, very nice. I made a lot of good friends.
Now, you were not born in Mexico.
No, I was born in El Salvador, in Central America, in a coffee plantation. My father was half Salvadorian and half English, and my mother, that she's still alive, thank God, she's gonna be 87 in a
Yeah.
couple of days. Actually, tomorrow she's gonna be 87. She's Hungarian. She was born in Budapest, but I'm Mexican now.
Yes. When did music begin for you?
At 3 years old, I started singing when I was 3 years old. My mother gave me this record player, like they used to have the LP.
Yes.
and,
Yeah.
and she gave me my first album. She was Barbara Streisand. So I was like totally in love with
You
the
were
music.
3 and she gave you Barbara Streisand?
Yes, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, my mother, she's been my greatest
Your
teacher.
mother's a futurist. That's
Totally,
amazing.
totally, totally. So, and I grew up listening to Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin because of my sister. I have an older sister. But
Wow.
my mother got me into the soul, rhythm and blues,
Wow.
and Barbara Streisand. So that was the opening for me, because music has been in my life like the greatest gift that I could ever have. And I start singing like very fluently, like if I ever have, like, from another lifetime, I think so.
Wow.
Yes,
It just flowed.
yes, yes,
That's amazing. And so it's been a career path for you then.
yes, yes. And I had a rock and roll band when I was a teenager. I was on TV. I was in the show business, but I decided to quit because I didn't like this thing of show business, the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I didn't go with it because at that time I was already very embedded in the spirituality
Okay.
at the same time. So, and I stopped singing for 18 years.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, that was a long time.
Because you were connected to doing it, performing in a way that didn't align.
Yeah, because at that time, we're talking about the 80s. There was just, you had to go through the system of the TV network to be an artist, to perform. So they want me to sing some music that I didn't feel like it. It wasn't my thing. And plus the show business thing. So I said, no, this is not what I want. And so I quit. I quit because there was no other way to do it at that time. So I came back in the 2000s, that I realized that I had to go back to my path, my mission, my passion.
Wow.
So that was when I came back to
What
Mexico.
was that awakening? Can we just talk about that for a second?
Yes,
Like
well,
what was that moment of awakening, or was it a progressive realization?
no, that happened in two important moments of my life. Once in 1996, I was living in Cancun. I was in another completely type of thing I was doing. I was an entrepreneur, and I had an astral out of body experience. And I went to this unity of consciousness of music, and I realized that we are unity. That I realized that I was me, but at the same time, I was everything. So and I hear this amazing music, and I thought I was dying because I left my body. I could see my body, and I felt this experience of unity consciousness, and I wasn't ill or sick or something. I just had that experience, and I said, if this is death, I don't want to go back. I am happy here, you know. So I was impacted to this huge sacred geometry, which is the origin. That's what they told me up there. And it was music, it was color, it was geometry, and everything was beautiful. And I heard a voice telling me, now that you hear this, you have to go back and you have to do this music. And I say, how am I going to do this? Because this type of music doesn't exist in humanity. And so it was it was a very strange and beautiful experience that lasted at least like 45 minutes to 1 hour. So I came back to my body, and I was stayed like in an outer state, very strange experience that I had in my body. So I wasn't fully in my body for about 3 weeks. So that happened, and then 2 years later, I was in Japan, in Tokyo, and one of my favorite singers, Alanis Morissette. She's a rock and roll singer,
Yes.
but she has an amazing voice. She was in Tokyo for her world tour, and I was there. And I say, oh my God, I have to see this woman because I'm here and she's opening her tour. So I went with my partner at that time, that he is an entrepreneur as well, and we were doing the same business together. And so when Alanis Morissette came to the stage, she was coming from India. She was coming from an ashram, and she had this experience. She was with this Indian musician, a beautiful sari dress, and I had the second experience over there. She started singing, and I just saw the energy of her chest, of her heart, I guess, hitting me in my chest. And I start crying. I start crying, and I realized at that moment that I was an artist, and I said, I am that. That was the thought that came into my mind, and the voice inside of my head was, you are that. I am that. So I was completely in shock that night, and I realized that I had to go back and I had to change my life, and I did. I left the partner, I left the business, I left Cancun, I left everything because of this calling. And that was
How long ago was that?
24 years ago.
Wow.
And I came back. I went to Mexico City to try to reach for my musician friends and producers, and everything started happening for me, like one thing after the other, you know. So when you are in your passion and in your mission, everything flows completely.
Yes.
So and here I am.
Wow. What's ahead?
What's ahead? I want to make a world tour, and there's a project cooking behind the scenes right now, so I cannot talk about a little bit because it's still cooking, but it's a world tour. It's recording more and doing more retreats, my voice retreats, which I love because it's about experiencing the frequency of the people through their voices. So that's part of the awareness of the sound, and awareness is finding the voice. And when you find your voice, you hear the true calling of your soul. That is so connected, you know.
So when you're talking about finding your voice, you're not just talking about your singing voice.
No.
You're talking about the voice that you speak into the world.
And your soul voice.
Oh, your soul voice.
Is the frequency of God, which we are all. we are part of the unity of consciousness called God, creator, the origin. So when we really tap into the frequency of that, we realize how divine and how amazing it is to be alive in this time, especially this time of humanity.
Wow. Anything that you want to offer on sound and awareness more than what you already have?
Astrology, I do also the astrology.
Is that part of the awareness piece then?
Yes, yeah, because for me, astrology, which has been all my life, thanks to my mother, another one thing that my mother gave me, it's the astrology is the language of the light, is the language of the stars,
Mm.
which we come from.
Yes.
Bless you.
Yeah.
So that's part when we tap into that map of the light consciousness of which we are, we realize what we are here to do. So everything becomes more, knowledge is power. When, wisdom is power. When we know why we are here and the path of evolution that the soul chooses to incarnate in this time, we have a path, we have a map to walk through. So that's why I love astrology. For me, astrology, which is like a hobby for me, but not, it's part of my life, so I cannot call it a hobby. It started as a hobby because my mother used to write in an astrology magazine in the 70s.
Oh, wow.
I grew up with that, with music, with astrology, with art. So it was that for me, that's important to know what is my mission through astrology.
Do you combine the two?
Yes, I do. I do. I tap into the frequency of the map of the natal chart, and from
Okay.
there I can tap into the field of the persons, and I can chant. Well, you have experienced that.
Yes, I have.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you I don't know that I've ever heard anyone frame astrology like sound, the frequency of sound is one aspect that is prevalent for all of us. And now
Well,
you talk about the frequency of light
yes.
and equating that to astrology, that piece, I don't think I've ever heard it referred to.
Well,
And
everything comes to everything is mathematics. Everything. The universe is mathematics. The geometry is mathematics. Music is mathematics. Astrology is mathematics. So it's all a combination of all of that, which I received that information and I realized that. So everything is numbers. Everything in the universe is numbers.
such an interesting orchestration.
Yes.
It really is. It's phenomenal. It's beyond my capacity to fully, I can just appreciate. I don't know that I fully understand, but I can appreciate the parts that I do understand as well as the parts that I do not.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the unity consciousness is, it's like Tesla and all these great sages and genius. They realize that everything is numbers, everything is mathematics. And I think it was Tesla says that if you know the vibration of the universe, the energy, the vibration, the frequency, you will know all the secrets of the universe.
Mm.
And that's numbers. He even said that the main numbers of the universe are the 3, 6, and 9. So even if Elon Musk it tells the same. So all these great minds, these great thinkers, they all comes to the mathematics. We live in a mathematical world.
How important is frequency in our lives?
Well, I think
Well, we should say the quality of frequency.
it's very important because it's our mind, our thinking mind. If we have negative thoughts, all the time, we are lowering the frequency of ourselves, and that impact the reality and the manifestation of the outcomes of our lives. So the more positive, and not like not in a new age thinking mind, like, oh, all is fine and light. It's like knowing who you truly are, tapping into the divine voice of the frequency of who you truly are, and from there you have this laboratory, so you can expand your mind through your thinking mind, through your processes of thoughts. So that impacts the aura, the magnetic field of your body, and then you impact the reality and manifestation, and then you impact everywhere you go. So I think the more you know yourself, the more you tap into that frequency of light that we are, because we are that, the more high vibrational frequency we can attain in this reality called human incarnation. So I think we are at that time right now, because if you hear, a lot of people is talking about frequency right now, about higher frequency and how to attract and to have this field of love and light. And it all comes to the internal processes of your voice. How do you speak to yourself?
Mm.
You know, so if you speak with hateful words or complaining or victim words and things like that, you are lowering the frequency of of your of your human
And
galactic.
ultimately your magnetic field,
Yes, yes,
because we're giving off that frequency.
yes, yes,
It's connecting with something that's already there.
yes. And you remember Masaru Emoto, the Japanese doctor that he did experiments with the water?
Underwater.
Yes, and
Can
even
you talk about that? Because I don't know that I don't know that that's just a well understood experiment
well,
and the results.
because he was a Japanese man. He passed a couple of years ago, and he make experiments with the water, with freeze water, and he realized that if you speak to the water in a certain manner for hateful words, it will get a really ugly, distorted mandala or geometry. So if you speak words of love and light and nice things, peaceful things, it will have a beautiful sacred geometry mandala. So
And you're talking on the molecular level.
yes, at the molecular level. So there's a lot of videos about him.
Yeah,
too.
and I think if I recall that the out of kilter
Yeah,
geometries, that clear water started to cloud, and
yes,
the other water that he spoke positive to, it was clouding and it cleared.
yes, yes, yes. That was amazing. And then he make experiments with music, some music that were lower frequency, other higher frequency. And then he thought, how about if I write it in a piece of paper and put thank you in a bottle of water? And then he will realize how the molecule of the water changed because of just writing the thank you. So he says, imagine if that is putting in a paper and changing the water, and we are water, mostly our nature as a human are water. So what happens if we have negative thinking all the time? So the disease and a lot of things that we have in our body is because we are recreating our thoughts in this negative pattern all the time. So actually there was a movie about that, very interesting, couple of years ago, called What the Bleep Do We Know, that they talk about that too. So and I don't think a lot of people realize how important it is to have a positive mind, toward us,
Yes, yes.
about
And
love.
so let's say as we wrap up here, because we have to wrap up in the next few minutes. So this event was created initially for the person who is feeling out of kilter with what's occurring now in their life, measured against the holidays and the ideal scene, or an ideal scene from the past, or an ideal scene that they see someone else experiencing, and the gap, right? They see a gap, and the gap saddens them, or maybe causes just some discontent or uneasiness, some resistance that's allowed in, that they're not worthy of it, or they're never going to have the happy thing that they see other people experiencing. So there's a lot of people at a lot of levels of that will view this.
Mm.
What would you say a few easy steps that they can apply, 1, 2, 3, that will help them shift the awareness of their frequency or their frequency?
Okay. Well, first of everything, to realize that this is just temporary. We are living a temporary life. So to first of everything is to be grateful, no matter where you are at, no matter if you are depressed or having a rough time living right now, is just be grateful for who you are, because to be grateful for who you are is recognizing your soul and
Mm.
recognizing that you came to live this experience as part of the evolution of the soul. So don't fight with it. Just be with that and say, okay, I am grateful for who I am. I am having a profound or difficult experience right now, but I acknowledge myself at where I am at. Because when you really acknowledge what you are going through, things start moving. Why? Because the soul recognizes that the human is recognizing and is making a contact with the soul. And there comes a conversation. This is a very deep thing. If you really go into that place of acknowledging the soul with the human experience and say, okay, it's like Don was saying, before me, it's like I surrender to this completely, and I am grateful. I don't know what's going to happen next. I do not need to know, but right now I surrender, and I am grateful for the understanding of where I am at. I'm not fighting it. I acknowledge. And that lifts the frequency like this. And be patient. I think patience is something that, one of the things that a lot of people in this time is like, we don't know how to be patient with the
Yeah.
outcomes. So, and silence for me is very important.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah.
Because silence is not the absence of frequency.
No. Silence is everything. Actually, we make music from the silence. Without silence, there will be no music.
That's right.
So silence, everything is contained in the silence. So when we have time to be in silent mode, we can listen to the higher wisdom of our soul. And everything happens there. In the beginning was the word, and the word was the sound. And first was the silence. And from the emptiness, from the void, from the silence, came everything. So I highly recommend to be in silence, to meditate, to be in silence, to hear the voice of the origin that is connected to your soul, which is your divine soul.
And I'm assuming that you're saying not just one time.
All the time.
That's
something
to make it a regular, intentionally practice.
Yeah, actually, I spend Christmas, I'm spending Christmas by my own and New Year's Eve alone. and I'm doing silence, and I'm chanting mantras and part of my practices. But I love to be in silence because that's when I hear God through me. That's the divinity or the creator or the energy, whatever you want to call, not in a religious type.
Where does the action component come in?
The action comes. That's a very important question. The action comes from hearing. We have to hear what's next in our evolution. And one of the things that I teach in my workshop is the silence, the voice, and the hearing. If we don't hear, even in a communication, if we don't hear, we don't make communion, to commune. So to hear, for me, is the action. Because I let you be. And if I let you be, you are going to let me be. And we don't even have to talk about peace. Because when we talk about peace, it's because there's war.
Mhm.
So for me, it's higher than that. And that comes with hearing, with communication. That's the communion of the action, I will say.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Always a wonderful conversation with you, Grace. I just learned so many things too, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your questions. I love them.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that you love them. Yeah, it's the whole topic of sound. It's really fascinating.
It is.
It really is. And the wiring of sound, the frequency is it's just an elevated topic.
It is. It is
Yes.
because
Yeah. And the calmness, like you say, the peace invites a higher frequency.
completely.
Completely. Merry
Yes.
Christmas to you, my friend.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.